I'm Pam Seatle near Don Mills and the DVP. Tenants here at 31 and 35 St. Denis Drive tell me that they are fed up with what they call deplorable living conditions inside their units. So much so that over a dozen of them began to withhold their rent 2 months ago. So the building owners, Minto Properties, went to the Landlord and Tenant Board to try to compel the tenants to pay their back rent or face eviction. Well, yesterday the board sided with the landlord and ordered the tenants to pay. But it doesn't mean that the so-called rent strike is over just yet.
It's disgusting. Who would live in conditions like this for that kind of money? And it hurts.
This man doesn't want to be identified and has been paying his rent of $1,070 a month because he fears repercussions. The unit is infested with cockroach and has damaged walls, baseboards and ceilings, a stove with only 3 working elements. While he's not part of the rent strike, he supports it because he says the landlord, Minto, does nothing to fix these problems. Another tenant showed us pictures of mushrooms growing in her apartment, which she says has now been fixed.
Yes, I did withhold my rent even though the place was fixed up, because I know other tenants who are not coming forth are still also having the same problems I had.
The rent strike started when Minto applied for what's called an AGI, an above-guideline increase. They are asking for a 4.8% increase instead of the 1.8% set by the province. This is allowed if the landlord makes significant upgrades to the building. But the tenants say most of the upgrades have been on the exterior and not inside the units. A lawyer representing the tenants says he's advised his clients to pay their back rent in order to avoid eviction. And while he doesn't openly support a tactic like a rent strike to get action, he does support working class people taking a stand against large corporate landlords if their rights are not being respected.
The tenants have their backs against the wall. The tenants feel like they are out of avenues, they're out of recourse, and that they're now taking, as I mentioned, their fate into their own hands and are deciding that they will carve their own course.
Should the landlords be fixing up these units?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Across the city of Toronto, we're seeing rents are going sky high. We hear the term affordable housing crisis or just housing crisis in general. People are losing their homes. People are losing their homes, and when that happens, not all the times, but some of the times, people die.
Minto issued a written statement saying they're pleased with the LTB's decision. It read in part as the proper legal channel to address those who withhold rent. The Landlord and Tenant Board reinforces the obligation by both tenants and landlords to uphold their contractual agreements. As always, we encourage tenants to reach out with any customer service or maintenance requests. The organization that represents landlords across Ontario agrees.
It's simply an unacceptable way, when there's a system in place to deal with these matters, to just decide on your own or with the advice of some third-party advocate, perhaps a lawyer, to say, no, you should break your contract, break your bond, breach your agreement, and withhold rent. That's not the way we deal with these matters in this province.
Now, Isabel says she does intend to pay her back rent, but says they will take the action again if Minto doesn't come to the table and address their concerns. Now, the LTB did not have a comment for me today, but a hearing to hear the property owner's application to raise the rent 4.8% is scheduled for January.